Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Joseph. Hope everyone's doing well today. This was a request from Mr. Babasia, which I'm also guessing he's on the Discord server, because I got some prodding questions around tiles. Okay, first things first, I'm going to be truthful. I started working on this when it was requested, and because of work on that, I didn't get it up as soon as I wanted to, unfortunately. I will be covering how to generate tiles, and I'll also be showing how I incorporated that in with my global pathing system. I haven't used tiles a great deal. I just tend to stick things in objects because it's easier, as a fair warning. I'm just going to say a big thank you to the channel. As always, you guys are amazing. And I will now get into it. So, I'm just going to run the program so you guys can see what's actually going on here. So you can see here I've got a bunch of 1s, 2s, and 3s. They're my trees because I'm lazy and I suck at drawing trees. You'll see here when I ask my player to move, they will move according to where the trees are, and they won't go through them. So this is actually using the pathing system I developed in the other one. I'm not going to go in depth with how that works. It is a literal copy and paste job. And I will show you guys where I had modified it. So if I just engage the draw function, you guys will see I'm just drawing it. The only thing I've changed on it from the previous AI pathing is I've changed it from a 16 to 16 grid to a 32 by 32. And that's to align to the grid. Okay. So, let's look at what I've done here. So the first step when we create a tile in Gamemaker Studio 2 is we need to import a set of tiles into a Sprite function. It's important to leave your first tile blank as it doesn't get used in Gamemaker. Don't ask me why, this is the documentation I had read. So basically, I've got 1, 2, and 3. And what that does is we need to create, a tile set tree. And in here, we can use that information to pull into our code. We can use a brush builder, which I had a bit of a play with. I don't know what it does, but it does something. We've got tile animations and auto tiling. Auto tiling looks like it's just an algorithm that dynamically works out where to put things. And tile animation is, I'm guessing, where you can animate tiles. So you can make water effects in that for any kind of tiles. If I go into the room, you can actually add tile layers in here and you can manually just enter them in that way. But we don't like doing things that way because we want to do it the hard way. So what we need to do is see how I've got a tile layer controller here. This is the brains of the tile, so to say. And the way this works, it stumped me for a few days in and out while I had things to do. We need to generate a layer, and then we need to attach that layer to our tile map. That's the first thing you need to wrap your head around. So in this one, when I upload it to the Google Drive, it's going to have comments in it to help explain. So I create a variable called tree layer. In that variable, all I do is I reference layer create, my depth is 1, and I give it a name called layer trees. Not important, but we can use it to reference later if we wanted to. Normally we can just reference the value in here, as you can see down here. The next step to this whole procedure is we need to create a layer tile map create. So this is then creating a secondary component in our layer that defines it as a tile map. And this is important because then we reference our layer. In there, we set our starting position at 0 and 0 up in our corner. We reference our tile set trees, and then we go room width and height, which is the full size. The next thing that you do, so in here, ignore this right now because this is me just generating trees randomly. Here is the next really important thing. And if you try to do a tile draw, it just draws this. And I don't know who designed this, but it's not very well built in the sense of how it applies tiles. So what you need to do is do a tile map set at pixel I reference my tree or my layer that I'm using, which is my tiled layer. I then do a random between 1 through 3, remembering that 0 won't be used. So we'll only have access to image 1, image 2, and image 3, like what I've done with the numbers on there so we can see what's going on. And I just randomly place them. I'm just going to jump back up here. The random placement, this snaps it to grid. This is very useful because it actually will snap it. And the way it works is we take a random number, and actually, oh no, we take a random number, and whatever that random number is, we are dividing it by the grid amount, the sprite amount. Then we are multiplying it by our grid size, which will snap into a position with a rounding factor. I've got an explanation here of how it's done, written in words so you can re-look at it. Super useful, super important. Without that, everything else breaks because of how positioning works. So basically, that sets a random value. It places a tree factor down. And now this is the other part to the question I had. How can I make it work with the simple AI pathing system? So what we do is what I like to call cheating, or being very janked. So what we do is we basically create a temporary instance. This temporary instance has one job: to exist for an instance and then delete itself. It places itself at the same random X and Y position, same layer as the trees, and its object is called an object tree mask. That's all it's doing. It's literally just spawning in a 32 by 32 pixel grid inside that position where that tree spawns. The next thing we do is I add to my grid, like I did in the previous one, but instead of doing it at the object level, I'm doing it at the spawn level, using the temporary ID or skim off of the create function, and I'm setting it to actually be a solid position. The next thing I do is I just delete the object. And what that gives us is it spawns in an object, places in the grid so it knows that it's a solid, and then it removes it, which means Gamemaker is no longer working with that, so it should stop any kind of, what's the word I want to use, lag down or frame drops. Just bear in mind, I normally create systems where I actually import all my data using a create function, and I don't place them in room. So if you placed a tile in room, you would have to place a tree marker in room, for example. And the way I would program that, and I'm just going to quickly show you, it's super easy, is we would literally just grab this, would go into our create function, and all I would do is, because we already know this is being generated, I would go like that. I would then tell this object to immediately delete itself. So it's going to add. So we just need to use the ID tag instead of the temp ID, and we don't need to flag anything because it's saying self. Right, so when that tree object gets generated, it's going to add in. And let's just test it, see if I'm wrong, hopefully not ruin this recording. So I'm going to drop in a tile of a tree, hopefully. So here we should be able to create a very quick tile layer. Yep. Here we should be able to go set tiles, and you can see here how we can select them. I only want one tile. I'm going to put it right in the corner, and then the last thing I would do is in here, I would go to my assets, I would get my tree marker, and I would literally just drag it over there. So now when I run this, fingers crossed it doesn't break on us, you'll see I can't actually click on that layer. So the object doesn't exist there anymore, but it's blanked it out. So that's today's tutorial. I hope that helped. Again, like I said, I don't use tiles a great deal. I've never seen the need for them. Only because I'll do everything by hand. I'm one of those people. So a big thank you to you guys. You're all amazing. This will go up onto the Google Drive so you guys can access. Don't forget about the Discord. I do check it regularly and have conversations with you guys. Feel free to join. It's kind of a hangout space. And yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. See you later.